In this century, great strides have been made toward the goal of subverting our republic into a democracy. The foremost tactic of the subverters is subversion of language. By calling America a democracy until people thoughtlessly accept and use the term, the totalitarians have obscured the real meaning of our principles of government. That is a summary of my report on a constitutional republic, not a democracy.
Welcome back to Notify America. We have multiple pressing stories to get to. Stories that include Donald Trump and Vivek Ramaswamy teaming up last night in New Hampshire. Vivek coming up on stage with Donald Trump to publicly endorse the frontrunner and fight like hell to get the job done, he says. We have the video. Also, in that speech, they turned the tables on Nikki Haley, exposing what's really happening, they say, behind the scenes, how her largest donors are Democrats. Nikki Haley is literally a Democrat-funded Republican. We have the details. I'll show you what I mean. Also, the German government is preparing for World War III. That's according to leaked military plans, a frightening report, and many other stories from around the world that the corporate media doesn't want to talk about. But before we get started, thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps me out. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to do that to continue receiving these daily updates. Germany, preparing for Russia to start World War III. Leaked war plans reveal. That's the headline out of the New York Post. Listen to this. Europe is preparing for Russian President Vladimir Putin to expand his country's war in Ukraine and attack NATO ally countries next year. Leaked documents published in a German newspaper reveal. According to the outlet, which obtained the classified military information from the German Ministry of Defense, the country's armed forces are gearing up for a hybrid Russian attack in Eastern Europe. This is a frightening story, something that, we've been warning could happen. The situation we have right now, multiple hot wars raging. Israel and Palestine war, for instance, is now spread to other countries. Iran is now directly involved. Yemen's involved. Lebanon, not to mention the Ukraine-Russia situation. It's a perfect recipe for some large-scale world war to erupt from. It's a powder keg. One wrong move, that's all it takes. If Iran's attack in Iraq the other day would have hit a U.S. base instead of an Israeli base, what do you think would have happened next? And when do you think this is going to happen? Well, according to this report, soon, possibly as early as the coming months. The newspaper detailed how multiple potential alarming scenarios could unfold in the months ahead. One such scenario, dubbed Alliance Defense 2025, would start this February, next month, with Russia mobilizing an additional 200,000 soldiers. Emboldened by Western financial support for Ukraine drying up, Russia would launch a massive spring offensive. Now, there's a lot of people who postulate that a major war would be good for Biden, technically. As normally wartime presidents always win re-election, the nation rallies around the president during wartime. But I don't know if that would happen in this situation. Voters might think, do we really have confidence in Joe Biden, the man who gets lost coming off his helicopter, to lead us into war? I don't know. I could see the situation leading voters to be scared enough into voting him out. In another story, Donald Trump and Vivek Ramaswamy teamed up last night in New Hampshire following Trump sweeping the Iowa caucuses, winning 51% of the vote, largest victory in Iowa's history for a non-incumbent candidate. Well, before Vivek announced that he was dropping out of the race, he called Donald Trump. I don't know the specifics, obviously, of their conversation, but some kind of a deal was struck, and they have now teamed up. Vivek says he is on the Trump train, full stop. He plans to see this through to the end. Watch this.
There is not a better choice left in this race than this man right here, and that is why I am asking you to do the right thing as New Hampshire and to vote for Donald J. Trump as your next president, because we're not working with a lot of time here. If our kids are in high school before we get this right, we don't have a country left. That's what it means. We've been celebrating our diversity and our differences for so long that we forgot all of the ways that we are the same as Americans, bound by that common set of ideals that set this country into motion. We believe those ideals still exist. This man is going to be your next president to revive them. E pluribus unum, from many, one. And you know how we're doing it? We're doing it by speaking the truth at every step of the way. That is what won us 2 world wars and the Cold War. That is what still gives hope to the free world. And if we can revive that dream over group identity and victimhood and grievance, then nobody in the world, not a nation, not a corporation, not a virus, not China, is going to defeat us. That is what American exceptionalism is all about. That is what we are going to revive to, yes, make America great again. Vote for this man right here in the New Hampshire primary. God bless you and your families, and may God bless our United States of America. Thank you, New Hampshire. It's good to see you guys. We're coming back and winning this in a landslide. We will not stop until we get this job done. Thank you all. God bless you and your families.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow, how was that? Pretty good, right? That was pretty good. And he's a fantastic guy. And he's really, he's got something that's very special because he started off with a Zippo and he ended up very strong. He did a great job. I was actually surprised when he called because he was doing well. And it's an honor to have his endorsement. He's going to be working with us, and he'll be working with us for a long time.
And another story, at a recent RFK Jr. campaign event, he promised to give the American people a civics lesson by pardoning Julian Assange and Edward Snowden his first day in office. This comes after a group of Australian lawmakers, by the way, penned a letter to the UK government last week or like 2 weeks ago, pleading with them to stop the extradition, asking, how can we be insured for his safety and his well-being after he's extradited? Now, if Julian Assange is extradited to the U.S., he's facing 17 charges for allegedly receiving, possessing, and communicating classified information to the public under the Espionage Act, and 1 hacking-related charge. He'd be facing 175 years in a maximum security prison. All of this because he published classified footage showing America's war crimes. Something that if the New York Times had done, they would have been given an award for courageous journalism. Julian Assange, he's been held without charges in a Belmarsh prison since 2019. He's the definition of a political prisoner, in my opinion. Every candidate running for president right now on any side of the aisle should be asked the question, will you pardon Julian Assange? We already know Joe Biden won't. He's had 3 years to do so. Donald Trump, he didn't either. But he was close to doing so in his final weeks in office before Mitch McConnell pressured him out of it. Here's RFK Jr. pledging to do exactly this.
As part of that campaign, I'm going to give a civics lesson to the American public by pardoning Julian Assange and Edward Snowden. My first day in office. And the same day, I'm going to sign an executive order ordering all federal employees, including the FBI and the CIA, to refrain from colluding or communicating with media or social media companies to censor American political speech. Oh, I know that I can do it. You give me a sword and some ground to stand on, and I'm going to take your country back for you. But I can't do it alone. I need a big army of people, and this is an army that I'm looking at in front of me today. President Biden and President Trump can get on the ballot for free. But I need to spend about $15 million to do it. And that's, in the long run, it's going to help me because we already have 50,000 volunteers in the field. We're building out a ground game, a ground army in every state, and in many cases in every county. That is going to be, that's forcing us to do that, to get on the ballot. But what that means, And when the general election comes, I'm going to have a better army on the street, in the neighborhoods, than any other candidate.
In another story, Nikki Haley continues to get pummeled on social media. Trump supporters are calling her out for being a Democrat-funded candidate. We reported on this yesterday, how her largest donors are Democrats, and not just any Democrats, big money Democrats, big-time activists who have put their money behind her. She is their candidate, folks, not Joe, and sure as hell not Kamala. They need someone else. Think about it. They can't run a good Democrat candidate because Joe's the incumbent. And even if they did try to push Joe to step aside, that would mean they'd have to support Kamala. They can't usurp her. She's a diverse woman of color. That's like the ultimate sin in these people's eyes. So they come up with a pretty sly strategy. It's one of many strategies, I'm sure, a fail-safe almost. Who knows what else they have up their sleeve. If you didn't watch yesterday's video, one of Nikki Haley's largest donors did an interview on Fox News, and he let the cat out of the bag the other day, admitting on air that her largest donors are all big-time Democrats. Watch.
What she had raised in the quarter before that. So the money train is still flowing and going. Are you worried, though?
Thank you, Neil, for having me, and Happy New Year. I didn't. We actually have a large fundraiser on the 30th of January at a major apartment in New York City, where we're raising a tremendous amount of money. Believe it or not, a number of it coming from Democrats.
In another story, the House Judiciary Committee, led by Republicans, are investigating contact that District Attorney Fani Willis from Georgia had with the J6 Committee and the White House leading up to the launch of her investigation into Donald Trump. According to Saul Weissenberg, a former prosecutor working on Ken Starr's probe of Bill Clinton, the nature of the cooperation between Willis's team and the J6 panel is unusual, he said. He says this, "To me, that's a highly unusual level of specific cooperation," adding they're using what's supposed to be a congressional investigation in aid of a prosecution. Now, Fani Willis has rejected the GOP-led committee's efforts to disclose the contact that her team had with the J6 committee, calling their investigation an affront to well-established principles of federalism and separation of powers. Writing this in a letter her team sent to the House Judiciary Committee last week, "You cannot and will not be provided access to any non-public information about this." Now, this is the same federal prosecutor, by the way, who's currently in the hot seat for an alleged affair with her lead attorney in the case. It appears Fani Willis is having a pretty bad week, folks. All right, that wraps up this episode. Like, subscribe, stay free. We'll see you next time.